This presentation aims to outline the S3-S4 curriculum proposal. The presentation begins with an outline of the current model that all young people at Braes High School experience across S3 and S4. The presentation then moves on to the proposed model, the changes this would involve, and the rationale behind this proposal. Towards the end of the presentation, there is information about the consultation process and how parents or carers can provide their feedback on the proposal for the S3 and S4 curriculum. This slide provides an overview of the consultation process that we have engaged in. There has been discussions with parents and carers at Parent Council, information assemblies for our current S1 and S2 pupils, as well as pupil focus groups that included pupils across S1 to S6, and there will be more information about the outcome of those focus groups later in the presentation. We have also engaged with parents and carers further at a consultation session on Thursday the 18th of September. And now there is an opportunity for parents and carers to complete an online survey providing their thoughts and views on the proposal. There will be a further presentation at Parent Council on Monday the 6th of October before a summary of all of the information gathered as part of the consultation process. This slide provides an outline of the current model that young people experience in S3 and S4. Currently, a young person towards the end of S2, round about March time, completes a course choice forum, ahead of moving into S3 in June. As part of that course choice, there are 3 mandatory subjects: English, Maths, and Modern Languages. In addition to those 3 mandatory subjects, all young people select a further 5 subjects to study, meaning that they have a total of 8 subjects. Within Modern Languages, all young people study 2 languages, either French and German or French and Spanish. In addition to these subjects, all young people have 4 periods per week spread across core subjects. So all young people have 2 periods of core physical education, 1 period of religious and moral education, and 1 period of personal and social education. As part of the current model, young people also complete a course choice form in S3 ahead of moving into S4. When a young person moves into S4, they reduce the number of subjects that they study in S3 down to 7 for S4. English and Maths remain mandatory subjects moving into S4. A young person then chooses 5 subjects that they have studied in S3 to carry on studying in S4, meaning that they will have a total of 7 subjects in S4. Young people also continue to be allocated 4 periods of core subjects across physical education, religious and moral education, and personal and social education. This slide is a visual display of the current model and what has been described on the previous slide. In S3, you can see that a young person has 3 mandatory subjects: English, Maths, and Modern Languages. And in addition to these, they choose a further 5 subjects. Moving into S4, English and Maths remain mandatory subjects, and a young person continues to carry on with 5 of the subjects they have studied in S3, meaning they have a total of 7 subjects to study in S4. You can also see on the table the periods allocated to each of these subjects within the current model. Whilst the current model has given us a good foundation from which to build in S3 and S4, there are some inefficiencies that we have to consider. One of these is continuity of classes. By having a course choice point between S3 and S4 currently, young people are not guaranteed to be in the same class moving from S3 into S4. So for example, if a young person studies physics in S3 and they continue to study physics in S4, they may have a different teacher and they may also have different young people who are in the class with them. The S3 into S4 course choice does not guarantee the exact choices for S4. So again, as there is a course choice point between S3 and S4, young people are not necessarily guaranteed the 5 subjects that they wish to select in addition to English and Maths. And sometimes a young person has to take a subject that actually they wish to drop. And thirdly, because we currently have 8 subjects in S3, the time for those subjects has to be spread more broadly to make sure all subjects have time to complete their coursework. The next few slides outline the proposed model for S3 and S4. In S3, all young people will have completed a course choice form towards the end of S2. As part of this course choice, all young people will have to study English and Maths moving into S3 as mandatory subjects. Modern languages would no longer be a mandatory subject. In addition to English and Maths, young people would select 5 subjects that they also wish to study. Modern languages would be part of this selection process. That would mean that under the new proposal, all young people in S3 would have 7 subjects in total, English and Maths plus 5 chosen subjects. Each of these subjects would be allocated 4 periods per week, and young people would continue with their current allocation of core periods in religious and moral education, physical education, and personal and social education. When young people move from S3 into S4 under the proposed model, there would be no course choice point. So young people would continue in S4 with the same 7 subjects that they had studied in S3. This means that young people essentially would be on a 2-year pathway from the beginning of S3 through to their assessments and examinations at the end of S4. Each subject would continue to be allocated 4 periods per week, and the allocation of core periods would remain the same as in S3. Under the proposed model, all subjects would have 4 periods per week across both S3 and S4, excluding core periods. This means that most subjects will have an increase in time across S3 and S4. For English and Maths, they would be reallocated an additional period each in S1. And if this proposal was to begin from August 2026, the current S2, or the new S3, would experience this model, but the current S3, or the new S4, would continue with the current model. This table highlights the proposed model. So in S3, English and Maths would be mandatory subjects, and young people would then select a further 5 subjects. So the main changes here are that modern languages is no longer a mandatory subject, and that means that the total number of subjects a young person would study in S3 would be 7 instead of 8. You can also see across S3 and S4, the period allocation for all subjects is 4 periods per week, which is a change from the current model. And in S4, in the proposed model, this would be a continuation of the subjects that a young person has studied as part of their S3 experience. There are several reasons that underpin the rationale for this change. The proposed model provides more opportunity for teacher continuity across S3 and S4. This means that there is more chance of a young person having the same teacher who they will have worked with in S3 and the same peers that they will have built relationships with in their class. Having a 2-year pathway across S3 and S4 will provide greater consistency and clarity for learners during this time, in terms of the subjects they are working in and the outcomes that they are aiming to achieve by the end of S4. This model also provides an opportunity for greater depth of learning. Both teaching staff and learners will have more time to work together across S3 and S4, allowing staff to deliver the pace and challenge needed for all young people and achieve the best, most aspirational outcomes possible. Some of the specific examples could include the opportunity to build skills and content knowledge required for respective courses, the time afforded to particular aspects of a course, such as assignments, and the flexibility to maximise pupil learning. When analysing data trends, most young people at Braes High School are working in Level 3 by the end of S2. This indicates a readiness for young people to move into a pathway in S3 that provides personalisation and begins to prepare them for achieving national qualifications by the end of S4. The proposed changes would also give us the potential for more senior phase options for young people to achieve and attain within by improving the efficiency of the overall school timetable. As part of this proposed change, we are considering how we can best support young people in English and Maths to reach their potential. All faculties across the school offer a range of alternative pathways and qualifications, and the proposed model would support faculties being able to use these pathways to ensure young people can gain alternative or additional qualifications by the end of S4. If the proposed model is to be put in place, then staff will have time to plan for course development, and further information will be discussed with both learners and families around course choice ahead of young people moving from S2 into S3. This slide provides an overview of points raised through a series of staff consultation sessions. This slide highlights the main themes taken from the pupil focus groups. There was a focus group for each year group from S1 to S6 that included 10 to 12 pupils in each of the groups. The main themes that were highlighted were that pupils were in favour of more consistency from S3 into S4 in terms of their classes and having the same teacher. They cited reasons like knowing how their teacher works and that the teacher knows their strengths and their support needs. Young people were also in favour of modern languages being optional in S3 and open to those who wish to take it. There also appeared to be a preference, particularly in the S1 and S2 focus groups, to have a model where young people did not have to drop a course. One key bit of feedback that came from the focus groups were ideas from young people, particularly those in the older age groups, about how we could improve the course choice process in S2 ahead of young people moving into S3. This slide is the same as the first slide that outlines the overall consultation process. There is now an opportunity for all parents and carers to complete online feedback regarding the proposed model, and we would encourage you to do that. All young people will also have the opportunity to complete online feedback during their PSE lessons. Once this feedback has been collated, the key themes will be shared with all stakeholders.